Hello and welcome to another episode of the Aviation Showcase. Today the team is just outside of Edinburgh in Scotland and I'm joined by David Leask from Findlay Irvine. He's going to be giving me a bit of a tour around their facilities. We're going to see a bit of the factory floor, a bit of what goes on at the company. So David, thank you very much for having us today, and why don't we have a look inside?
Yep, no problem. Let's head in and we can see some of the products.
Excellent. So David, we're currently in the main reception area for Findlay Irvine, and we've got a bit of a mini museum behind us with all the kind of the product portfolio of the company. Why don't you tell me a bit about the company and what you do?
Yeah, well, we're Findlay Irvine. We were formed here back in 1960 as a family company. We've got 50 people roughly on this site, 64 and a half years later. So as you say, yeah, there's a mini museum behind you of all the products that we've manufactured over the years, including a version of the micro grip tester, and we're obviously going to go and look at the grip tester in some detail.
So you're a family-owned company and you've currently got 3 generations of the original founders essentially working here today.
Yeah, so we've got John Irvine, who is one of our founders, is on the board. Colin Irvine, the son, is the managing director, and we've got a couple of his sons are now working here as the 3rd generation staff. So Will, as we come down the corridor, you'll see various pictures of the history of the company over the years, including our founders, James Findlay and John Irvine.
David, we're currently in the electronics room. There's a lot of equipment around and obviously a lot of your workers, working on various different products. Why don't you tell me a bit about what goes on in this room?
Okay, so this is our main electronic assembly area. So all the electronic products we're building will be manufactured in here. They'll be assembled, put together, go through the test area, and then they'll go out for final assembly into full products. And
you've got a couple of examples behind you to show me.
Yeah, so this is one of our railway products that'll be assembled in here. It'll go through the test process here, and then typically it might go through some environmental testing as well.
And also the grip tester electronics as well, which we're going to see more of in a minute. But
yeah, so this is the grip tester electronics, and we'll see one in action further down the assembly line here.
We're now in the grip tester assembly room, which is one of Findlay Irvine's main products. We can see the kind of underside of the product here while it's in assembly. David, why don't you talk me through a bit about what's going on here underneath?
Yeah, so this is really where the mechanics of the grip tester are put together. So the bits will come in as raw materials or partially complete materials, and we'll assemble them all into the chassis of the machine. So it'll all get put together mechanically. The electronics that we saw earlier will be added to it, and then it'll go through to our test area.
And roughly, say for one unit, how long will it take to complete what's needed to be done in this room before it goes through to the next stage of final assembly?
So this room will probably take about a week to do all this stage of assembly, then it'll take 2 or 3 days during the test and the setup phase.
And I mean, you do some of the metal as well, don't you, if you have to?
Yeah, we've got full metalwork facilities here, so we've got CNC controlled mills and lathes as well as manual ones. Many of these components will get done with local subcontractors. Typically they will all be local, but if we need to, we can make those parts ourselves.
So David, you've taken me into the final room of assembly for the grip tester. Talk me through exactly what goes on in here.
Okay, so as you say, we do the final assembly of grip testers here. They started off next door. This machine's actually come back from a customer for service. It's actually from a customer in the United Arab Emirates. So Ruben will strip it down. We'll change various parts as a preventative maintenance, do a full service on the equipment, and then we'll compare it to our reference system so that we know that the readings are good.
And in terms of your maintenance offering, I mean, how much of that is part of the business in terms of what you offer with your friction testing equipment?
Yeah, so every customer we sell the equipment to will offer to bring the equipment back on a periodic maintenance to look after it for them. It's very much like doing maintenance on your car. You want to do it as preventative maintenance. So really what we're doing here is we're doing maintenance that will ensure for the next year or the next 2 years the machine works flawlessly.
So David, we're back outside again. Obviously, this is the grip tester as it would be set up in operation. Why don't you talk me a bit through this?
Yeah, so you're right. This is the grip tester set up, how it would be used for testing. So we've got the grip tester itself set up here, connected to the vehicle. And in the vehicle, we've got a water tank because the testing we do with water. So the tanks inside the vehicle will pump water to the grip tester as we test. And there's also a data collection computer that will be in the vehicle for the operator. So what we'll do is we'll take this up the road and we'll see some dynamic action of the machine.
So David, we're back outside. Obviously I've got my hands in my pockets because it's absolutely freezing out here. What are we going to do now?
Yeah, well, what we're going to do is we're going to simulate a test. Obviously it is bitterly cold, so we won't test with water like we normally would because there's a risk of it freezing on the road. But basically we've got a section of road here that we would normally test. It's like a reference surface. This is a reference machine. So we'll test the values of that and compare them against our historical data and make sure it all makes sense.
It's quite handy for you guys because, I mean, we're only down the road from where we were in the last shot.
Yeah, so literally we're minutes away from the factory. We can pop up here at any time and we can compare values from machines and make sure everything's reading properly.
And how frequently do you do these sorts of tests on
the guys will be up here every day, and just now we've got obviously the setup that we showed you earlier, and we've got a driver and operator in the vehicle, so they will literally be up here every day.
So he's coming back now.
Yeah, he's coming up the hill here to test, so he'll be testing on the section here, so they'll get up to test speed and then perform a test.
So what is test speed?
Typically on the highway it's 50 kilometres an hour.
Okay.
On an airport we'll test at 65 and 95 kilometres an hour, so quite a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. David, thank you very much for taking some time to show us around. You know, give us a bit of insight into the company, your history and your product portfolio.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure to take you through the history of the grip tester and see some of the evolution of it and actually come out into the field and see it in action, so thank you.
Absolutely. If you would like to know more about Findlay Irvine, please head over to the link in the description.